All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I am back and we're picking up where we left off, working on this video here where we are going to try and finish this up. Okay, so when I left off last time in After Effects here, we had, pull this guy over here, we had came in here, give me this, and we had a ball, we had it bouncing. And we added some squash and stretch. Now, since the last I came in here, I did a little adjustments on my skull here for my placements. I wanted to fade out and have the ball come in. And I added a little bit of squash and stretch. And I added that rotation in the skull where it spins 3 times. So in my skull there, I just went to rotation as it hit the ground. And I added that I wanted to rotate 3 times as it comes up to the top there. So we've got that. So it hits the ground, squashes, and comes back up, and that's where we are. Okay. Now, this is a good place there that I've got kind of all of this motion here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add squash or I'm going to add an ease to all of these. Okay. We're just about 3 seconds in here. Okay. And I can just go on my ball here and I can grab all of these keyframes. And I can right click on it, go to the keyframe assistant, go ahead and say I would like to have ease and just easy ease, and you can fine tune those later. But for right now, we're just going to go ahead and add that ease so we got a little bit more of a natural motion to it, feels a little bit less mechanical. That's great. Okay, now we're going to go and do the same thing for the skull. We're going to come down here, the skull comes in and pops out right about here. We're going to go ahead and grab those. And we're going to do the same thing where you can just right click and go to the, got to right click on the actual keyframe assistant and say easy ease on there, or F9 on your keyboard. Okay, so we've got that, hit Command S. Okay, all right, now next thing we're going to work on is we are going to work on, back to this animation here, if I can get back over there. In this animation we have, right before that skull pops out, it has this little animation where it's got some anticipation, which helps us right there, where this kind of little line work explosion kind of pops out for just like less than a second there, and allows us to kind of accentuate that transformation from the small ball to the skull. So we're going to work on that right now. We're going to go back over here to After Effects. Okay, so to do that, we're going to paint. If you remember, I'm going to go ahead and shrink down my layers here, my ball and my skull. Okay, we made a layer called just a regular layer at the beginning. Oop, not that. At the beginning, we made a layer to start off with that was just a solid layer. Okay, solid layers is where we can use our brush tools. Okay, now we're just going to use our brush tool to do on that. Okay, and we don't need to make it again because we already have it. If you did not do that, you will need to make this layer, but I need to get on this layer. Okay, and I'm going to get my brush tool. Okay, now I need to get right to the sec where it actually pops up and transforms. Okay, so I'm going to get to the actual layer, and kind of right there is where I want that little pop to happen. Okay, now if I get my brush layer and I go and grab my brush, pull this aside here, and I just have my brush here, and I'm going to use like a 13, 19, just a solid brush here. I'm just going to make some little lines. Okay, and I've got it set to white. Okay, now if I go to paint on here, okay, it's not going to let me paint. So to actually paint on the layer, you have to double click on the layer, and then I can paint on here. Okay, now I'm just going to make a little X, and you see I make this and I make this, and I'm just going to kind of make an X over top of this like so. Okay, now I'm going to get my move layer, and I'm going to put this, I want this to happen right over top of that, so I'm going to put that right on there. Okay, now that I've got that on there, I'm going to come back over here and get my brush again, and I'm just going to keep making, and I'm going to add like some more lines here. Okay, we're just going to do that simple one like that. Okay, so that is right there. Okay, now we would like this. I can go ahead and close this up here, okay? So right now that just kind of pops up and it stays, okay? So we're going to get on there, okay? Now if you go down to your brush layer, you now have a layer called effects, and underneath effects you have paint, because I just painted on there, okay? So if you go in there, and I made 8 brush strokes, okay? I'm going to click on the very first one. I'm going to hold down my shift. I'm going to hold and click the bottom one so that I have all of those guys selected. So I've got all 8 of those selected, okay? Now under the first one here, I'm just going to open it up, okay? It says stroke options under here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and open that up, okay? And on my end, it has start, and what I want to do, I want it to draw out from beginning and end of that stroke. So I'm going to say end, okay? So right here, I'm going to go, now I have a time frame, I have a keyframe there. You see we have a keyframe right there, and it says 100%. We're just going to make that 0%, and this on end, so it's disappeared, okay? And then we're going to go ahead like about 3-4 frames, and I'm going to make another keyframe, and I want that to be at 100. And then what will happen as I go through there, that will draw those out, okay? So that I'll have that little kind of explosion animation, okay? You can make this as complex or as simple as you got. I just want to get the general concept down for you, okay? So now we got that, okay? Groovy, 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 okay? Moving right along, okay? Now, next thing we got to do is we need to get our other parts in here, okay? So after it kind of explodes, we got to go, and we don't want that to stay there, okay? I'm going to go over a couple more frames, and then I'm going to have that end, and I'm going to take that back to 0. I'll say return, and then let's go and kind of play that through. Bounce, 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 boom, groovy, okay? So we got that working the way we want, okay? And we can adjust that a little bit if we want. We want to have that kind of, let's do that just a little bit there. Let's go ahead and take those, and I'm going to have them, grab those, and let's just shift those over just slightly. There we go. I like that's a little better there. Okay. All right. Now, we also need to have our, inside of here, we have a wheel we need to have roll in from off screen here, okay? So let's go ahead and click this guy, and we're going to bring the wheel in. Okay, we'll put that there. And if the skull rests right there, we could go ahead and center that right there. Okay, so we got that coming up, and comes, pops back up, stops right there. Okay, now that's where I wanted to end up, and let's say I'm going to go out to, how many frames here? How far are we out here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go to 5 seconds there. And that's where I want that to happen at, okay? So I'm going to go to, on that wheel, and I'm going to click P so I can have position, make sure I got the right thing. Let's go ahead and rename that as well. We'll call that wheel. Click away, on position. I'm going to add an animation. So at 5 seconds, that's where I want it to be. And when all this is going on, right about there, I want to have that start rolling in. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to get my move tool, this right here. Let's see this And I'm going to start this guy over. I'm going to hold down shift so he moves straight off the screen like that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and try the motion on that, see how fast that is. I like that. That's great. Okay, let's go ahead and add some rotation on that. So when it is over here, I would like wheel rotation. And we're going to have it right there. And when it gets over to here, go ahead and open the rest so I can see my scale. When it gets to there, I want that rotation to rotate 3 times. Let's go ahead and see that motion, and I want to look at it to see if it looks like it's rolling. Groovy. Okay. That feels like a good roll right there. Okay, so there we go. Okay. I'm going to select those layers there, and I'm going to right click on those as well, and I'm going to do the keyframe assistant, add ease to that, play it back, looking great. Okay, next we need to have the same thing where we need to have our lightning bolt come in here. So we're going to look for our lightning bolt. There is our lightning bolt. Okay, and again at this 5-second mark is kind of where I want everything to come together. So I'm going to pull that in and kind of position it on there. That's great. Okay, I'm going to rename this Thunder. So we've got that. Okay, and I need to, let's go ahead and close some of these layers so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take the Thunder. I need to pull it down below the skull and the wheel. Okay, now again, we're going to take our Thunder. We do need to transform it because at 5 seconds, that's where it's going to end up. So we're going to go here and click on position. We'll go ahead and add a keyframe. That's where we want it to end up. And then we want it to fly in. Let's say right about here. We're going to have that start up here. So let's take that position and get our move tool. And we want to have it come in at a straight line like that. Okay, so we'll back up, hit our space bar. Okay, I'd like that to come a little faster, so I'm going to move that in a little bit more. And I'm going to go back here to this. I'm going to take this down a little bit. Feel like it's going in a straight line. That feels pretty good. Hit our space bar, boom. Okay, all right. Now we're going to come back here. Now we're going to actually add some motion blur to that. Okay, so we're going to add that effect to it. Okay, so we're going to go and add a effect blur, and we're looking for a directional blur for this one. Directional blur. Okay, now I have that blur here. You see I have that effects. Close my transform, open up my effects. There's my directional blur. I can either operate it down here, up here. I'm going to operate it up here. So at when I get to here, I want that directional blur. Let's go ahead and we want that to be at that 45-degree angle. We're going to add that keyframe assistant, and then we're going to set that at 0 because I want it to end at 0 when I get there. Okay, and then as it comes in, I would like that blur to be, let's do 200%. See what that looks like. Rolls in. That looks pretty good there. Like that. Alright, so I've got my blurs. I'm going to move these things around, get all those things fine-tuned to where I want. Okay, that all looks really good. I'm going to click on my blur, on my effects. Those all look good there. Okay, now I need to add sound effects. Okay, so sound effects is kind of our last thing. Everything's looking really good. Okay, we did add this line down here. Let's see, what is this? This is our brush layer. And we can close that. Got the ball, the line. Now the line I don't need anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because that's not part of my combo. That just helped me line up my ball when it came in. Okay, so now I got to bounce this ball and get some sound effects going on here. So I am going to go in here. I'm going to close my thunder as well. I'm going to go to ball. I'm going to open that up. Actually, I'm going to click on ball, and I'm going to just click on my position. It's because I want to see these keyframes. Okay. Now I'm going to go back here to project, and I'm going to look for this long bong here. Okay. So I'm going to drag it onto my key, onto my composition. That's just going to give me a new layer. So if I go ahead and hit play, okay, you see it's got this long bong to it. Okay, so I'm going to shorten that down a little bit. I'm going to play that again. Okay, I'm going to shorten just a little bit more. Okay, I don't want it to reverberate out too long there. Okay, so I'm going to take it like to that. Okay, now I'm going to pull this layer again down below my ball just so I can see it here. Okay, I'm going to expand out my keyframes a little bit here. Now when this ball hits, right there, now my sound is like right at the beginning of this layer, so I'm just going to take this layer here. I'm going to drag it because when it hits, that's when I want it to make the sound. So let's try that and see how that works. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go to our next strike here, which is right there. I think, yeah, right there. Okay. We're going to just click on the layer over here, Command C and Command V. It's going to make an exact copy of it right there. And again, that's right where I want to strike. And again, I'm going to take it right almost to the beginning of that, so that I should have two boings. Boing. Awesome. Okay, then I'm going to go and catch that other bounce here. So I got the first bounce, I got the second bounce coming up here, comes back down right there is where it's at. Okay, again, I'm going to click it, Command C, Command V. I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to move him over, get the sound test. Okay, now I got one more sound here. Okay, now the other are with the skull here, so now I'm going to close my ball and I'm going to open up the skull layer so I can see that. Okay, and on the skull layer I can see, actually let's just get skull, I just want the position. Okay, and let's back it up here. So up too far. So I've got another bong right there that I need. Okay, so I'm going to click on my longbow here, Command C, Command V. Take that forward just to the beginning. And then I will do the same thing for my thunder strike. So I will decide, and so that should give me a bounce. My wheel rolls in, and then I need to add the thunder strike in here. And I'll do the same thing where I will move my thunder strike in, and I will position that to where I think it should be, right? So it looks like that's about where I would like that thunder to kind of hit. So I will go to thunder here, and I will take this, I'm going to run it right about there. Okay. Play my animation. Okay, so I've got a little bit of fine tuning there I can see that I need to fix here. When I came in here, I want to shorten that thunder strike just a little bit here. I also saw before it came in, my lightning is sticking down here, so I need to move that up a little bit. But other than that, I'm pretty much finished with that. So that is your assignment, kind of get that out. Don't forget that when you are all finished with all your fine tuning, got the look and sounding exactly the way you want it, you're going to go up here and you are going to save your composition first, then you're going to go to up the composition, you want to add to the render queue. Okay, that'll end you to the render queue. It'll set for the best settings, leave it for best settings. It's going to send it out as a MPEG 4. You just need to tell it where you want it to go by clicking on this and making sure it's going to where you'd like. Okay, so that is what you need to do. If you have any questions, watch the video or ask me questions, send me an email, come find me. All right, love you all. Have a great day. Stay creative. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.